Hi everybody, what's going on? I am bringing you a very interesting piece of information today because, as it turns out, there are people out there in the world who we don't know who dislike Henry Cavill. And why do they hate him? Well, because he doesn't like the direction that the Witcher series is going in, and so he quit. And they're upset about that because now that Liam Hemsworth has been casted, nobody is talking about Liam Hemsworth and nobody is talking about the Witcher series anymore. Now that Henry Cavill's gone from that, and now more recently away from James Gunn and Warner Brothers as Superman, he has now gotten the time to join new projects like the Warhammer 40k series by Amazon. I'm a little bit skeptical about Amazon, but I do have faith in Henry's ability to create a great 40k series, considering that he's now an executive producer on the show as well as starring in it. He's obviously going to have creative control in some respects and may be able to pull off a great series with that. I know that I'm going to be very excited to watch it. I know that many other people are, especially people who think the way that I do about Henry and think the way that I do about Hollywood and the negative direction that it's been going lately. But somebody out there hates him enough. They hate Henry Cavill enough to write smear pieces like this. And we're going to read it because it's one of the most absurd and most poorly written smear pieces I've ever seen. But why is it significant? Well, the reason why I find it significant is because of how many likes it's getting and how many retweets and quote tweets it's getting. Clearly, there are people out there who want this to be true. They want Henry Cavill to be the monster that they have always believed him to be deep down in their hearts and souls and minds. But he's not. And they hate that because he left Netflix and now nobody's talking about Liam Hemsworth. And he left James Gunn, and now nobody's talking about the young Superman because everybody cares about Henry Cavill, but nobody cares about those projects. And the reason why is because Henry Cavill carried all of those projects on his back for years, and they've all turned their backs on him. So people, in turn, are turning their backs on them. And it goes to show, with the huge disconnect that Hollywood has, they'll never understand the fans. They will never understand what pisses us off and what makes us happy. Let's read this, so we can understand exactly what this person thinks about him. I'm not going to zoom in. I recently got this message and somebody was like, do you want to know what really went down? And I was like, sure. So let me just read it. Obviously, right off the bat, this isn't written very well. And it sucks because this person whose name is Witcher Netflix Enthusiast is like, I'm writing a paper. That's why it's in 12 Times New Roman, huh? At the beginning of the show, Henry was good to work with. Oh, well, that's great. A lot of unusual demands that made people feel like he wasn't really a team player, but that's not unusual for a big star. Well, I mean, is it unusual or is it not unusual? They're saying it's normal for actors to ask for such things, but then they're saying that because Henry did it, it's unusual. Though in TV, it truly usually doesn't happen until the second season, but in season 2 and 3, something shifted and he became really impossible for women to work with, which is always a big problem. I mean, obviously it is a huge problem. Because why would anybody in this world want to be impossible to work with for women? And I mean, Henry Cavill, if he is impossible to work with, then no wonder he's not on the show anymore. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Okay, so what did he do wrong? But even worse here, because the showrunner is a woman. Whoa, wait. You just said that he's impossible to work with. This is supposed to be an expose, is it not? So tell us, what is it that he is doing that made it literally impossible for women to work with? Women specifically, not the men. Apparently, he is a misogynist. So how so? And then they're like, because the showrunner is a woman, well, that's a great assertion. But again, they're not bringing any supported facts to this conversation. They're just saying he just hates women. He hates the showrunner because she's a woman. He would try to overrule her and try to get changes made last minute across the board without her knowledge. Okay, so I have to stop this person really quick. I already know that this is BS, and I'm not sure why people are quote tweeting it, but this person got this so wrong. You can tell that they've never been on a set in their life. They're acting like last minute changes made by an actor, director, producer, or writer is somehow abnormal and that it doesn't happen. I will tell you right now, it happens. It happens all the time. Actors, directors, producers, writers, anybody can come in and they will make suggestions, okay? And this person's going to contradict themselves multiple times in this little hit piece, and I'm going to show you exactly why. But one of the first things that I found to be absolutely absurd was this statement saying that somehow it's exclusive to Henry Cavill to go and ask people to make changes right before they're about to start shooting, or or make changes to the script or ask to have his sword on the other side of his back. That's just normal. And you know what? I could actually believe that Henry Cavill is a little bit demanding on set because a lot of big actors are. But they're painting this as some kind of crazy psychotic mental breakdown that he's having. And it's not true. I know that it's not true. If you've seen Henry Cavill in any kind of interview, anywhere at all, he is articulate. He's very well spoken. He's calm, chill. I mean, he knows his stuff. He knows the lore. He has a lot of experience on set, a lot of experience in making movies. He knows what he's doing, but they're trying to paint it like he's just some crazy idiot. Which, if you know anything about show running, is completely effed in reference to them saying that he's making last-minute changes. The showrunner has to sign off on every minuscule detail down to the buttons on a costume. Okay, well, if that's the case, then obviously Henry Cavill can't just go around making whatever changes he wants, right? He has to get permission from the showrunner. So what are you complaining about? Even if Henry tried to make these changes and they were absurd, the showrunner could always come in. Lauren Hisrich, right? She has to come in and be like, no, Henry, that's not a good idea. We won't do that. So obviously the showrunner has control. They contradicted themselves already. They're like, well, he's trying to make all these changes, but the showrunner says what can and cannot be done, so it's okay. But he's still evil for trying. Like, what? Female writers and directors were suddenly completely ignored on set. Suddenly, out of nowhere, something shifted. Unable to do their jobs. Every department head was complaining. Every single department, department, this person says, was complaining. They were making complaints about Henry Cavill, but nobody ever said anything about it until just now, and anonymously and with vague information, right? Totally believable. He started making comments. He did? What kind of comments? See? Notice how they don't describe what kind of comments he makes. It's just like, he made comments. Like the sky is blue. He's making comments. Look, let's write about it. He commented on the sky. I also love this next part. It wasn't a sexual thing. He wasn't grabbing anyone or being lewd, but you know, it was disrespectful and toxic all the same. Well, you shouldn't have gone and said that, because now when the mainstream news comes in and reads this hit piece, they're going to be like, oh, this is juicy. And then they're going to say, yeah, but he wasn't sexually harassing people. They're going to be like, darn it. That's exactly what we needed. The one thing that the mainstream news wants is for Henry Cavill to be a misogynist and a sexual harasser. But they're like, he's a misogynist, but he was also not touching women. He wasn't being disrespectful or rude. Clearly, they don't want to go down the route of accusing him of being a sexual harasser on set. They don't want to Me Too Henry Cavill. They're not willing to go that far, but they're willing to go as far as calling him slightly disrespectful on set. Of course. Well, hey, mainstream news is not going to be happy about this one. Absolutely not. Especially since they're probably going to try and use this to smear him in the future. I can see that happening as well. He's deeply addicted to video games. Many people are. To the point where it was like working with any other addict. He was distracted, he was late, he was obsessive, and a lot of people think that the misogyny came from Gamer World. Is this person a teenager? No. Obviously, it's a really, really old Karen. Because they're talking about Gamergate, which was forever ago. And it's absurd that they talk about video games like in such an alien and negative way. I mean, listen to this. Video game bro language is not how you talk to coworkers. Bro, this show is based on a video game based on books. Henry Cavill came to the project to be The Witcher because he loved the Witcher games so much. Obviously, the video game has been discussed. And even if the director and the showrunners and the writers hate it, even if they hate The Witcher, I guarantee you they were still talking about it. And of course, I guarantee that Henry Cavill did that. I'm sure he was on set talking to them about what changes they shouldn't make and how they need to be faithful in some areas to the games and to the books. I'm sure that he did that. And they're acting so entitled here. It's like, how dare he talk about video games to us? We're movie makers. We're filmmakers. We don't talk about video games on set, even though our show is literally based on a video game. It's not even like it's a question that Henry Cavill is a gamer. He's made it very clear. He has spoken time and time again in many, many interviews about all of the video games that he plays and all the comic books that he reads and all of the Lord of the Rings movies that he watches. He has openly expressed how much of a nerd that he is. And they are using that to try and smear him. They are completely disconnected from reality. They're using video games to try and rationalize that he's a misogynist and that he hates women and that he's bombastic and a monster on set, and it's because of the video games, it's because of Gamergate, it's because of misogyny. No, it's because you're dumb. I don't even believe that this is real, but if it was real, this person is entitled. They sound incredibly entitled. They sound snobbish. They sound like they're the ones who make unusual demands, and Henry's over there just trying to do his job. He's just trying to make a quality TV show. He's trying to make suggestions. He's trying to come up with solutions to the problems that the show clearly has, that the showrunner clearly has with the lore. But Henry Cavill came in and shook things up, and they're like, oh, now my personal space is violated. It's just ridiculous. They said that he didn't sexually harass people, but they have no problem calling him a misogynist anyway. Again, why are they bringing up the video game thing? The dude paints Warhammer sculptures. I don't even do that. This guy's probably more of a gamer than I am. But he is still pushing out quality films. He's still pushing out Superman films, Witcher series that everybody loves because of him. They don't love it because of the writing. They love it because of Henry, 100%. The writing in the show is subpar. In the first season, it was slightly okay. In the second season, it was slightly worse. But Henry was consistent through all of it because he actually understands the character and the story. End of story. And he wouldn't stop. Someone in the show compared it to watching Get Brainwashed by QAnon. Here we go. QAnon. All these far leftist talking points. I swear, this is somebody who they hate Henry Cavill. They're accusing him of being QAnon. Like, come on. This is one of the most unbelievable smear pieces in history. Like, his whole personality shifted. Eventually, his disrespect escalated. It got even worse than that. It got worse than him making slight suggestions to change the show for the better. It got worse than that. Okay, how did it get worse? He would rewrite scenes without even alerting the other actors in the scenes until it was time to shoot. Okay, so they basically just repeated what they said up here when they're saying that he wanted to make changes last minute. He was always trying to make changes. He tried to rewrite scenes. Now they're just repeating talking points and writing it in a different way to make it sound spicy and evil and terrible. He would rewrite scenes. Again, Jar Jar Abrams made a joke about this, a self-aware joke about this in Super 8. And that's just one movie off of the top of my head where a director made a joke about themselves rewriting scenes last second. It's normal in Hollywood, people. He decided that he didn't want any romantic scenes at all. Now, this is just pathetic. He didn't want to kiss anybody. No shirtless scenes, no kissing. He wanted complete control. He didn't want to get naked for us. He didn't want to kiss somebody for us because he's such a misogynist. Don't you think it's a little sexist to expect him to want to take his shirt off and to want to kiss people? How are you getting upset about that? He's so impossible to work with. He won't even take his shirt off. He's clearly escalating the situation. So dumb. Like, my brain's literally exploding from the stupidity of this thing. He wanted complete control of storylines, but really had no idea of the limitations of TV, structure, budget, etc. I mean, sure, Henry Cavill's been working in the movie business for over 10 years. He's been in countless films. I mean, he has a lot of experience, but yeah, I'm sure he has no idea. That's why Amazon pulled him on as an executive producer on one of the biggest video game entertainment franchises in the world. Okay, this is now the third huge franchise that he has been in. The Witcher, Superman, and now 40K. Dude, that he couldn't have nabbed a better gig than that. I think that's amazing. Of course, they're going to try and downplay it, make it seem like he has no idea what he's doing. He's just a crazy person on set, just making demands, rewriting scripts, not touching women or sexually harassing them, of course, but he's extremely disrespectful with his rhetoric. And then it says that he formed a weird alliance with one writer who was also a gamer. Wow, what a big surprise. Who eventually got fired after multiple HR complaints were made. Man, that's so stupid. If that's the case, again, I don't believe this whole thing. But if that was the case and he got fired, maybe he got fired because Henry Cavill liked him, because the dude was a gamer and they actually got along. I mean, clearly the other women on set or this person and other people that they were whispering to about Henry Cavill and how evil he is, clearly they didn't want to hear anything that Henry had to say about the video games or about video games in general. And this writer's just like, hey, I like video games. And so Henry's just like, oh, cool. Well, let's buddy up and talk about it. So they're talking about video games, having a good time. And then these people on set are just like, oh, how come Henry doesn't want to talk to us? And then this guy is just like, well, it's because you don't like video games. Like, oh, you don't. we love video games. I mean, we're making a show about it. I mean, sure, we hate that Henry Cavill brings up any kind of suggestion that would make the show better or make it even more like the game, but we do love games. How come he won't talk to us? I have an idea. Let's go to HR, make a bunch of complaints, and accuse the guy of being a groper, unlike Henry, who we would never accuse, and then we'll have him kicked out. You see how evil this is? This is trying to paint Henry as a bad person, but the person writing this is the one who is coming off as evil. It's not making Henry look bad. It's just making this person seem obsessed, like they're thinking about Henry Cavill all of the time. They're constantly making assumptions about what he thinks and what he does. They're falsifying his intentions. They're calling him a misogynist. They're relating him to people from Gamergate from years ago. I mean, there is a disconnect from reality here. If you can't tell, I'm trying to show you that there is something clearly wrong here. And after the writer left, Henry did anything he could to hold up production and cause problems. Look, the only person on set that I got along with was kicked out for whatever HR complaints. Dude, I probably wouldn't. I'd be looking over my shoulder all the time, wondering if these people are going to try and hurt me, ruin my career, get me kicked off the show. And Henry probably did think that. I'm sure that there was tension. I'm sure that there was conflict. But whatever that conflict was, it wasn't this. It was not this. And I will show you in a minute why. Eventually, top brass at Netflix was tired of him costing them money with delays in HR investigations. Wow. And the showrunner was asked to construct a potential exit for him. Netflix reached out to him personally, and he was given one final warning and violated that warning with an email he sent to the entire writing staff right after that meeting. That was it. Okay, so he tried to rewrite the script a couple times. He tried to make suggestions. And the whole time, Lauren Hisrich had full and complete control of the situation because she's the one who signed off on it. But because Henry was slightly disrespectful on set, again, he did not grope anyone. That's what this person said. But he was slightly disrespectful. So that was enough to fire him and potentially ruin the entire series and franchise because of your dislike of Henry Cavill, basically. I don't believe that for a second. And we're going to go to an article that I find to be extremely relevant to this. The Witcher's Anya Shalatra confirms what we all suspected about Henry Cavill's on-set behavior. This is the actress who plays Yennefer. Okay, and I know that some people have their reservations about the actress who plays Yennefer, but she had great things to say about Henry Cavill. Check this out, what she says. In an interview with recentlyheard.com detailing her work on The Witcher, Anya Shalatra discussed her path from acting on the stage in theatrical productions to her on-screen portrayal of the powerful mage Yennefer. Asked what it was like acting opposite Henry Cavill and how the experience influenced her as a young and growing artist, Shalatra responded, "It's been such a learning curve for me to work alongside Henry." She revealed that Henry Cavill is incredibly professional, polite, brilliant, very experienced, clearly in the world of acting and being on sets that big. Very experienced being a leader of a team with such grace. She went on to say Cavill's professionalism also benefited their close relationship as characters in the series, saying it's a real privilege to play alongside him, especially with the relationship Yennefer and Geralt have, which is so animalistic and raw and sexy. He was just so empathetic, and his experience just helped in every conversation that we had. Summing up her clearly positive feelings about Cavill's on-set behavior, Shalatra said simply, "He cares about you. He cares about the show." Now that is a real opinion about Henry Cavill. That's from somebody who literally worked right next to him, his co-star, his direct co-star as Yennefer. She loves the guy. She loves working with the guy, and she had nothing but nice things to say about him. But they want us to believe that this is the real Henry Cavill, some wannabe crybaby on set making a bunch of demands. I don't think so. If you watch the interviews and you read what other actors who literally worked with him have to say about him, they have nothing but nice things to say. That's why Netflix and Amazon and Warner Brothers wanted Henry Cavill in the first place, because he's actually not hard to work with. He's easy to work with. He's communicative. He's intelligent. He knows his stuff. He knows his games, his movie lore. He knows his stuff. And that's why Hollywood hates him, because there is a huge push to take all of our beloved franchises and ruin them. Why? For fun. Despite the Rings of Powers failing on Amazon, I'm still going to watch this show, and I'm going to love it. I know I am, because I have a lot of faith in Henry Cavill's ability to bring quality storytelling to the table. And I think that there is no better time for him to come out and start taking control of his series then right now. I hope you all have a beautiful day. Like and share this video, subscribe, click that notification bell, and I hope to see you all again next time.